statement because thank you. I think it speaks so directly to why sponsoring a conference like this is so important. Because in your own mission statement, so recently written by you all, you talk about improving the lives of affected individuals and their families through awareness, advocacy, education, and supporting research. And I hope that by the time I talk about what a disease-specific conference can do, you'll see that probably nothing more hits the goals that your own mission speaks about than this kind of a conference. So just in terms of getting into the details here, what I'd like us to really have a chance to talk about is kind of what exactly is a research conference? Why should the Gold Syndrome Foundation host this? What can we accomplish with it? How can we all learn more? And what's needed to make this a success? Um, so to get very specific about them, foundation-led research conferences are really frequently led by rare disease foundations. This is a pretty common pursuit for rare disease foundations, and it's really often one of the things that will be the first thing that a rare disease foundation will undertake when they're starting to try to promote research in their disease. And the reason why is because they're considered the single best way to bring together scientists and doctors working only on your disease, and even to try to bring new ones into this research. Um, often, and they're, Doug is here, Diana's here, they can attest to this. Often it will be the only time these researchers get to meet up for this kind of intensive collaboration. As you all know, in a disease like Gould syndrome, where there are many different systems affected, the doctors and scientists working on your disease will, of course, go to conferences on cardiology or nephrology or ophthalmology, but they're not necessarily at those conferences meeting up with and spending all of their time talking to other specialists focusing only on Gould syndrome. They're focusing on those special areas and presenting research in those areas. But hosting a conference focusing only on COL4A1, or Gould syndrome is the way to bring everybody together explicitly and only for this purpose. It's a time for them to present new research and forge new collaborations with each other. It's frankly the only way that the clinical care guidelines that were just published were formed in 2025. They came about explicitly from the clinicians sitting down, painstakingly working through what the care recommendations should be for this population. And that's been a tremendous win, I think, for this community. In 2026 at MGH, there may be the possibility for doctors familiar with Gould syndrome to see Gould patients. And certainly at MGH in 2026, biospecimens, blood and other specimen tissues collection may be available. And these kinds of samples are extraordinarily valuable to researchers. So that's a huge asset that can really only happen in a concentrated way by having patients at a conference. The other thing that I want to highlight is when families, patients, and researchers come together at these conferences, and with this conference at MGH, we're really highlighting and amplifying the participation of the patient community. It's a real opportunity for the patient community to bring and voice your priorities, your interests, your needs. I remember for a different disease, the first time I brought together a patient community with some scientists, and a scientist who focused on the disease but had only studied zebrafish models of this disease came up to me and said, I've studied this disease for 10 years, but I've never met a patient with this disease. And it's really changed the entire way I look at this disease now. So it's a really tremendous opportunity for the community, the whole community, to come together. I want to just speak for a minute and, share some praise and gratitude to the Italian Col4A12 group. In 2024 and again in 25, they hosted the first of these conferences in Rome, where they gathered an international group of scientists and doctors for 2 full days of meetings, and really kicked off this kind of experience. It was also at these meetings, you see an example of that here in the picture, where they had a kind of clinical roundtable where the doctors sat and really discussed all the difficult facets of this disease that people face. And it was out of this roundtable and then the many, many discussions that followed it that the clinical care guidelines came out of that, as well as many other research projects that are going on right now in the scientific community. So again, just highlighting that these are the kinds of things that just don't happen unless the community is brought together. Doug, I didn't know you were going to be here, so you could have spoken your own quote to us, but I was very happy to have it. I think it's important to hear from some of the folks who go to and benefit from these conferences to kind of share how valuable they are. And so we asked for Doug to kind of lend his voice to them. And again, I think it's really important to hear that, there are tangible benefits to all stakeholders in this community, that patients and families learn more about the disease, scientists share unpublished data and coordinate their efforts, clinicians open lines of communication on how best to manage their patients. These elements are important for any disease, and you can see examples of disease-focused meetings everywhere. And then again, just that last line really pumped out at me. Continuing and growing these international exchanges will be vital to identifying future treatments. So, very appreciative for that insight. Um, Other words from clinicians who this community is familiar with. Rachel Vassar, the opportunity to meet with patients, researchers, and clinicians from around the world is the single most important driver of forward progress in Col4A12 related disorders. And Dr. Musolino sharing that one of the single best things a patient organization can do to power research forward is host and attend a research meeting. So lots of encouragement for this to be something the organization undertakes. So I wanted to get a little specific here and kind of focus on, why the next meeting is at Massachusetts General Hospital. It was, first of all, the Italian team is wonderful. It's two very energetic sisters who have done tremendous work, and they're a little tired. It's a lot of work to put on these conferences. And so they were really seeking, kind of other international partners who were interested in picking up the reins. And I think, the idea of a kind of alternating European North American conference made sense beyond just sharing the load, but also helping geographically to allow for a little bit more emphasis in one part of the world and the other. And so having this meeting in North America made sense, but also having it on the East Coast kind of allowed it to be close enough to Europe, but also situated so that it could be accessible to the West Coast as well. Um, uh, I happen to work at MGH and have hosted, planned, and helped create a number of these patient meetings there. So I will be very happy to kind of be your guide. MGH is also a major research and clinical care center for Gold syndrome, and there are ample, facilities for this group. We are, seeking out whether there's a possibility for some, clinical interactions, but certainly we'll be able to also have biospecimen collections. And just in terms of the kind of flow of what this might look like, I think frequently these meetings have a 2-day kind of rhythm to them, where the first day would have a more patient focused angle. And certainly this community will be central in helping identify the kinds of speakers and kinds of things that would be helpful for them to hear. There might be particular speakers on managing school, managing work, what kinds of resources do you need to help manage, disease and life? And there are many, many options for that to make this really helpful to you. I think certainly also during that family day, there's a great opportunity for the doctors and researchers who will be, presenting to give kind of lay versions of what's happening in the research space. I know that for many of the rare disease communities I work with, there's a real yearning for information, but information that can be kind of understood by people who are not scientists, but who live with the complications of the diseases that they have. And so I think that is often a big component of that family day. And that then leads into a second day, which is generally where scientists can kind of speak to each other, present that new research, form collaborations. My philosophy has always been to encourage both parties to attend both days. I think that's where a lot of synergy comes and a lot of understanding among all stakeholders happens. And so that's a little bit of the concept of how these conferences can come about. But your organization will have certainly a planning committee with all stakeholders helping come together to form the agenda. But I think it's very important to kind of understand that this is a very critical time to have your voice heard. You become partners with the scientists and doctors working on this disease by helping to plan for and attend this meeting. You're really in having this meeting, crafting the future of research and treatments for Gould syndrome. So I can't emphasize enough how much this is a huge opportunity for everyone to be involved. And there are many ways for people to be involved. There will be a planning committee. There will be people working on, food and beverage. There will be people working on childcare opportunities. So there will be no lack of ways that people can, lend a hand in this. And it actually feels, kind of tremendous because no matter what angle you're able to lend a voice to, you're really helping shape where the future of science and treatment for this disease is going. This isn't free, but given the outcomes from this, it's actually, kind of incredibly lean, costly. Um, I have helped other groups conduct conferences for about $30,000. MGH will graciously donate the conference space where the conference itself, the meeting itself, is being held. So the costs are largely for food for over the 2 days, and also for some travel stipends to help presenters attend the meeting and some miscellaneous other kinds of things. And certainly we can look much more minutely at sample budgets that I can share with you as we get into those details. I think it's also really important to try to raise funds in excess of that. A goal is to try to help as many families as possible attend. And so raising additional funds will allow the organization to offer travel stipends for families who may have challenges coming. certainly an international community. And so while Boston is, somewhat geographically central in a sense, it's, by no means where everyone lives. So, this is an opening concept, but certainly the Gould Foundation will begin fundraising. I've been meeting with the leadership of the foundation to begin to talk about some fundraising strategies. You will begin hearing from them about that and, hope again that people will seek to join in toward this common and incredibly worthy goal. So I'm going to take a pause. I see that there are some comments and questions in the chat. I oddly enough did not put my email here, but probably less important for you to reach me directly because all questions can go through these guys. But I really hope we have an opportunity now to share all questions and talk about this fully. But I did want to give you Brittany, Tim, and Lacey's emails if you don't already have them. They do outstanding and constant work for this organization. So there you have it. I'm going to stop sharing so we can open discussion.
Thank you so much, Rebecca.
Sure.
Yes, families as in patients. Yep.
Do we want to go through? Excited. I was going to ask if there were. Okay, first conference in the US, families as in patients. Oh, a specific date. Excellent question. We are looking at April or May. That is for a few reasons. I don't know how many of you go to Boston like I do in the middle of the winter, but I wouldn't recommend it for most people. Diana's laughing because she lives there right now. Tim lives there, so that's not advisable. So April or May, better time to be there. Also, some of the key researchers who have been doing so much for this community are going to be graduating from the Mussolino lab and moving on to other things like Dr. Tambala. And we really want to have the meeting while they are still among us and can share their expertise and the, excuse me, the research that they have been conducting as well. So it will certainly be April or May. Technical, silly things, the calendar that schedules the exact room that I want to hold this in is not open yet, so I can't give you an exact date. As soon as that calendar is open, we will let you know. If you want to attend as a patient, how would you go about getting on a list? So a list for Caitlin, a list for what?
My assumption was just that, if we wanted to attend as a patient and maybe we needed financial assistance from the stipends that you were talking about or something like that, there would be like a list or something that we would need to get on so that as that funding comes through, we could be contacted or something.
So first, as a community, we all need to raise the money. That's what I would say first. So first, everybody energetically all need to participate in raising money to host the conference and then go above and beyond that to consider having a pool for stipends. I think the triage of goals will be probably next asking for volunteers to help work on a kind of conference committee. That conference committee would kind of delineate all the Abe Shorin. It will absolutely not be over Passover. I'm an observant person and I don't go anywhere where I absolutely. So I promise you it won't be over Passover. Um, uh, so the first thing would be getting together a conference committee and delineating, and I have a pretty good idea of what these are, the components of putting together a conference. And so we need more people to help do that because if I just give that to Tim and Brittany and Lacey, the structure is going to crumble here. So more people, we come up with all the things that we need to do, and then the organization is going to undertake some fundraising to help make this a success. And then to Caitlin's point, to generally a little bit later, once we've made sure we can cover all the bases for hosting the conference, look to see about additional funds for stipends. That's kind of the story. That general flow. Will other specialty physicians that begin seeing patients in their city be invited, especially if they're new to Gould syndrome? Yeah, so I think certainly in terms of who is invited, this is generally like a cast a big net kind of thing in terms of who is speaking and presenting. The Gould Syndrome Foundation has recently assembled and is soon meeting with their scientific and medical advisory board. This is a really elite group of international folks who are kind of top researchers and clinicians and so on in the field. That group will help in addition in collaboration with the Italian Call4A1 folks who have a good list of who already came to their meeting and so on. Scientific and Medical Advisory Board will help guide who should be speaking at this conference. So it's not a blank list, right, that they're starting from. But certainly if people have ideas of, oh, my child's been seeing this doctor, they're phenomenal, they're seeing a bunch of patients and so on, people can certainly suggest those names. Absolutely, Michelle. What else, guys?
Rebecca, if I may add something.
Please, Lacey.
This is Lacey Korsvet, part of the foundation board. I wanted to let the community know as well that we will be creating a page on the website specific to the announcement of this conference coming up. There you can go and we'll have links to help get ideas for raising donations, for fundraising. We're hoping to have Canva created formats, so they should make it a little easier for the community. And if you're interested in helping us, because this is a huge undertaking that we are so passionate about and we need all hands on deck and as much help as we can get, please go to the foundation website and go to About, and then it says volunteer with us. And we are so looking forward to growing our community and getting more people involved to make this happen. I'm so excited about it.
Yeah. And yay to Blakely, who makes every beautiful little website Canva thing that we just all take for granted look amazing.
Right.
Yes, great point, Lacey. We did just discuss that, and I think having a central web page for all the information, ultimately registration, and ultimately hotel information, and that sort of thing will be super, super helpful. Other questions, guys?
There's just a question, Rebecca. Since this will be
Please.
solely dependent on funding, is it possible it may not be held from Christina?
Excuse me, it will not be held what?
The conference. It's in the chat.
I'm sorry, I didn't see it in the chat. Can you ask the question again? I just wasn't hearing you.
Sorry. Christine is asking, since this will be solely dependent on funding, is it possible it may not be held, meaning the conference?
I'm not even entertaining that. $30,000 is like an unreasonable amount to not consider raising. So,
Yeah.
no.
We got this. We
Yeah,
got this.
no. I mean, we're gonna far exceed that, folks. There's no way we're not. $30,000. That's 3 people raising $10,000. That's, I mean, let's break it down, folks. That's not scary money.
We can do it. We will do it.
I worked with a rare disease organization where I had to raise $4 million for a gene therapy. That's scary money. $30,000, not scary money. We're going to do that together without stressing about it. We're all going to do it together because then it's like, can you raise $1,000? Yes, you can do that. but we're not going to be scared of $30,000. Right, Kristen, but I didn't ask you to start by raising $4 million. I've been doing this for 14 years. So that's why we get to work together. But there's no way in the universe that we're not going to easily do that. And then we're going to do bigger things because we're going to want to do things like sponsor research and, you know, do great things in Doug's lab and, you know, all the other people where we have to give them money to find treatments. So let's not be afraid at all about that. What else? That's the next time we get together. I get to tell you how we go about doing that. But that's okay. That's for me to do. I think it's going to be great. I think it's extraordinarily inspiring to everybody who comes together. It's inspiring to scientists and doctors to get to have families come and have a real sense of, wow, this is really who we're doing this for. A lot of them already know and get it. Some of them, like I said, haven't had that opportunity. They're doing it from an incredible scientific space, but they haven't met you all and your kids yet. And you're going to have an opportunity to come and see and hear about remarkable things that people are doing to try to help you. And it's going to power you to come back and do more. So this is a really catalyzing thing. It's like lighting a tremendous fire for everyone. So I guess that's kind of my message.
Thank you, Rebecca. Yeah, we have a wonderful team of so many people that are working together already, and we're just excited to have more people join us to make it happen.
Okay. If there aren't more questions, I think we're good. Certainly, if there are, you know how to reach your key people who are really, becoming experts at foundation leadership. And, I'm just like humming along in the background trying to support. So you can reach any of us anytime. And, reach out. I think sometimes people don't reach out to help because they're like, oh my gosh, I can't do what so-and-so's doing. Or like, I couldn't be, I couldn't be that involved. Being a little bit involved is helping. So I would leave you with that. Yeah, I'm just looking at the chat. Okay.
That looks like all the questions.
Right. Right. People are talking about how many patients are known.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that. Maybe Doug
Yeah.
even can speak even more. It's very hard to categorize someone as patient, as Doug 100 million% can speak on that. Way better than me. I mean, in your community, there are a lot of patients that now reach out to us and to Dr. Basar that have this puzzling result, which is a VUS or a variant of unknown significance, but they have symptoms. And some physicians less familiar with the disease have a hard time calling them patients or linking the result of their genetic report with how they present, meaning we say phenotypically in lay language, like what are your symptoms and if these are caused by that mutation. So many times if we think, yes, I would reach to Doug and share the mutation and he would tell me what he thinks. And then some patients with this variant of unknown significance came to MGH. We, as a team, thought that, yes, their presenting symptoms are linked to that mutation. I think your community also knows that the researchers are working 24/7 or sometimes 25/7, but not all the mutations in the community are published. Therefore, some of the the mutations are unknown to the places where you get your genetic report, and so you get this result. So I'd say the penetrance is way bigger. We just don't know how many patients, and it's a rare disease, but as Rebecca knows better, way more common than other rare disorders that we are working with. So
Yeah.
that was my 5 cents on the question.
Yeah, I think we see this to some extent with all rare diseases when the work begins on them, even truly ultra rare diseases with I've worked with, that even if yeah, what is known is always a subset of what there is, and with this disorder, it's far less than what there will be because of exactly what Diana was describing. I mean, I know Deb has much more to add to it, but it's makes it very complex.
I can throw in a little bit if this is of interest to people, but yeah, it's very difficult. There's as Diana mentioned, a lot of factors that go into it. And so, for example, there are people that have variants that we certainly have a high degree of certainty that it's a pathogenic variant, but some of those individuals don't manifest any clinical signs. So there's sort of a sliding scale there. Then there's people who have clinical signs but have a variant that we're unsure what it is. This is what Diana mentioned, a variant of unknown significance. It may or may not be that variant of the one of these collagen genes is responsible for the manifestations, the clinical manifestations. So there's those couple areas of gray zones that we can also do sort of a prediction mathematically, if you will, to say, we know that about 20% of prenatal or perinatal intracerebral hemorrhages are caused by variants of COL3A1 and COL3A2. And then you look at the frequency of prenatal or perinatal intracerebral hemorrhages, you would predict then that there's about 400 new cases every year in the United States. But that's only based on the frequency of perinatal and prenatal and perinatal cerebral hemorrhages, and not everyone has that. So, and like Rebecca mentioned, I mean, we're still relatively early days in understanding what the full spectrum of the disease looks like. And as with any genetic disease, the first cases you find are usually really early onset and more severe. And then as time goes by, we're going to understand the breadth of the spectrum. And so that's why it's important at Mass General and at UCSF, there are these natural history studies where we're collecting patient records so that we can have a much better idea of what the breadth of phenotypes look like. So we don't know what the answer is for the number of patients, but it's evolving essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. So interesting. Anything else, Brittany?
I think that's it. Yeah. Thank you again, everyone. We so appreciate it. Thank you again, Rebecca, and Dr. Timball and Dr. Gould and everyone for coming. Lovely. We appreciate it, and we look forward to talking more and making this happen together.
Amazing. It's going to be terrific. Thank you, everyone, for joining. It was lovely to meet with you all, and we will just continue. Have a
Good to
great
see
afternoon.
you.
Have you, Rebecca. Bye-bye.
Congrats.
Thank you,
Great to see you all.
everybody.
Bye
Thanks,
now.
everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.